Welcome back to Let's Roleplay Pillars of Eternity with me, Liberticus. Last time, the Grinch and his new traveling companion, Aleth, stayed the night at the Black Hound Inn, and the Grinch was having a nightmare. His sleep is restless and fevered, assaulted by hisses and whispers, blanketed with a suffocating anxiety. He opens his eyes to awaken and find himself in front of the Gilded Vale's gallows tree, the creaking of its ropes growing louder in his mind until the sound is deafening. Hanging from the tree is an old dwarf woman whose face has shriveled inward like moldering fruit. Her head hangs limply to one side. As he looks at her, she looms larger and larger in his mind until she's mere inches from his face. Suddenly, her head snaps up and her eyes open, and they're empty, and behind them is a vast nothingness that makes his stomach drop. Her mouth slowly opens, and with a gust of rancid air, she speaks one word. Watch! The Grinch jolts awake with the foul smell of the dwarf woman's breath still in his nostrils. Sweat runs down his face, and his skin and fur is soaked from head to toe. He remembers seeing the woman's decaying face when speaking with the magistrate, because the magistrate specifically singled her out and called her an animancer. I guess I'll pay her a visit, in case she isn't as dead as she looked. In the morning, they walk from the inn to the hanging tree. The sun isn't fully visible yet, and the clouds make the morning very dark indeed. The Grinch approaches the corpse of the elderly dwarf woman hanging from a low branch. The bloated purple flesh of her neck, worn away in patches like moth-eaten linen, bulges over the rope that suspends her, and her lifeless head lolls forward from one side to the other when the breeze shifts. He sees a faint glow around her that casts no shadow. There's a similar feeling to the one he felt when reaching out for visions from people in the smithery yesterday. Once again, the Grinch reaches out, and this time towards the corpse. When he has expanded his senses enough to connect to the woman, he feels a sudden jolt in his mind. He receives a sudden ringing electric surge of images, words, and sounds. The Grinch briefly closes his eyes. When he opens them, the woman is staring at him, with eyes clouded in a milky fog, her body still swaying in a wind he no longer feels, from a tree that stands planted in a misty void. The woman gives a slow nod of her head, the rope creaking as she does so, and gives the Grinch a smile.
Have you come here for me, dear, or have you gotten lost? It is both, I think. Yes?
As strange as all of this is, he needs answers, so he goes for the important question first. I survived a biowick. Do you know how that's possible?
Did you now, dear? My, that would be something, wouldn't it? Could be luck, could certainly be. A storm can be a careless thing. Or maybe it got its hands around your soul but couldn't pick it up. A soul can be heavy if it stayed in one piece through its time. Strong souls, we call them in the trade. Cold, I mean. Called them. Those days are all behind me, no?
That's very interesting. Now, for something more puzzling about this experience. How are you able to speak to me?
Is that what we're doing? Perhaps it just seems that way. Perhaps it is the easiest way for your mind to make sense of it. I think it is a very good choice.
You said souls break apart over time?
Oh, yes. Entropy. Rimagan's work. We know little of why or how. We lose pieces of ourselves when we die and pick up pieces of others when we are born again, but less than what we lost. We tried to stop it with the animantic sciences, but with little success. No. A very small few resist Rimergan's influence and stay together through some force of defiance, at least for a time. But they all succumb eventually, I think.
Rimagant, also known as the Beast of Winter, is the god of all manifestations of collapse like death, famine, plague, or simply bad luck. To think that he also tears down souls over time is a terrifying prospect.
I need to understand something that happened to me. How I'm able to communicate with you is part of it.
She nods, a look of pity on her face, as though consoling a child.
The world looks a little different than it used to, is that it? Feels like you're noticing things for the first time that have always been there?
Yes.
You have seen past the shroud. It only takes an instant. Your soul remembers, yes? Remembers how it sees when it leaves the body, like being reminded of a dream you had forgotten. You are a watcher now, and a watcher you will stay.
Now we're getting somewhere.
What's a watcher?
What indeed? Long hours have many animancers spent studying such things. Not I, though. Not I. I'll tell you what I know, though, since fair is fair, and here we are visiting, you and I, and it reminds me of better times. Souls pass on, some say through Audra stones, which are the blood veins of the world. They leave the world for a time and are reborn into it, sometimes more than they were before, but usually less and seldom the same. For all souls there is a time where they do not live, yet have not passed on. And those souls roam the world, same as you or I, either leaving or lost. But no one sees them because they have forgotten how. A watcher sees, though, knows what to look for. And sometimes they know a person just by looking at them. Know where they've been in ages past when their bodies were other bodies. See memories even their owner can't recall. A wonder to behold when all goes well. A wonder!
So the Audra stones are what makes reincarnation possible. Also, when the Grinch previously reached out to other people, he was looking into their past lives. This is very interesting, but potentially very troublesome too.
What do you mean, when all goes well?
Oh, nothing to be afraid of, I'm sure. It's just much to take in for some. Sometimes there's trouble sleeping or other difficulties.
All of the difficulties the Grinch has been dealing with since the Beawick, those are things he'll just get used to, or will they go away in time? Either way, there's no cure for it.
You should see old Merwald. He could tell you much more than I. A watcher just like you. Helped many in his day. Took up in an old keep no one would claim. Not far, not far. Cadnua, beyond the Black Meadow. He will welcome the company.
Merwald, the Watcher in Cadnua. Got it. Seems like the Grinch got all the information he can get from her. Now, it only seems polite to ask about her story. She is Caldara de Beranzi of the Valian Royal Academy of Animantic Sciences. Animancers study the soul. Some of them are just as bad as the stories say they are. Others are miracle workers, helping amnesiacs regain their memories, suicidal people brought back from the brink, and the elderly afforded extra moments to say goodbye. She originally came to help the wife of Lord Radric with her pregnancy. Caldera studied her for months, but found nothing wrong with the woman. she was completely healthy. Of course, Lord Redrick wouldn't have liked that answer, so Caldera lied and stalled. She told him that she needed time to cure the wife from her imbalances. Eventually, the Lord grew sick of her excuses, and she ended up hanged in the tree. After talking to the spirit of the old dwarf, the Grinch bids her farewell.
Goodbye, my dear. It was lovely visiting.
Then she closes her eyes, her head slumps forward, and the world slowly shifts back to normal. Aleth looks at the Grinch through narrowed eyes. "Are you alright? You seemed lost just now."
I'm a watcher.
"Well, that is interesting." Aleth deduces that this watcher business has something to do with the hooded figures in the ruins. He also knows that watchers have insight into soul conditions. He seems to appreciate the honesty of the Grinch. Traveling towards Kaidnua right away seems very tempting, but his vision upon entering the town specifically mentioned the Temple of Eothas. Perhaps he should take a look at it. Their party is rather small, consisting of just 2 people, neither of them prepared for an especially physical confrontation. The Grinch decides to hire some help. He finds a dwarf fighter named Theogrin who agrees to join them. The party of 3 descend into the temple ruins,